Well, I got rejected again. It happens. It actually happens a lot. I can't tell you how many stories I have sent out to different publications and I've gotten a nice little answer that says, your submission doesn't meet our current requirements. Thank you so much. When they're nice, that's what happens. Sometimes you don't get anything at all. That happens sometimes too. It's really frustrating when you don't hear anything, right? I mean, I've got stories that I sent out a year ago. I've never heard a word from anybody. I put those into my timed out line in my spreadsheet because, sooner or later you figure they didn't care. But it's the fun of the game. It's what it's really all about. See, here's my strategy. What I'm trying to do is gain credibility as a writer. And to do that, I need writing credits. Now, in the last 13 months, I don't know how many short stories I've written. I've written 4 novels. And I have 2 short stories that have been published. I have Waiting for Julia, which was in the Summer of Sci-Fi and Fantasy, Volume 3. It was the first thing I sold. I have The Road to Tane coming out in Dragon Legends. It'll be published by Dragon Soul Press, the end of 2020-25. And then my novel, Weight of the Gods, being published by Golden Storyline Books. It's a small traditional publisher out of the UK, and it should be ready and out by spring. And so all of these things help me build momentum as a writer. But getting the rejection is just part of the game. Now, what I do today, actually, I sent out 3 stories. I sent one flash fiction story that I wrote, and then I sent out 2 other stories that I had already written to different publications. And I am a member of the International Association of Professional Writers and Editors. What that means is I am part of an austere group. Actually, what it means is I sent in a little writing sample. They came back and said, we see you can write. And for $5 a month, I get this really cool email almost every day with a list of publications that are looking for stories. And different writing of all kinds, really. The publication list is not just for magazines and anthologies and publishers. It's all kind of things. A lot of stuff I'm not interested in, but a lot of things that I am. And so I'll see something on that email, and that will say, hey, these people might like this story that I've written. Or I could write one of those. Funny story. The Road to Tane, the story that's coming out in Dragon Soul Press, happened just that way. I was reading my email list. It came out. The submission window was closing in like a couple of days. But I said, I can write a dragon story. That's what they're looking for. I just wrote a dragon novel. I'll use the same characters that I used in the novel and just write a little short story with them. And that's what I did. And sent it off. And they liked it. A couple of weeks later, they say, we want to use your story. And so now I have that writing credit. One of the interesting things about that experience is that the way they wanted the submission formatted was really strange. They wanted it in a particular font, in a particular size, and they wanted no space in anything. This is crunched up document. I mean, I looked at it, I wrote the thing, and I couldn't read it the way they wanted it done. But that's one of the hurdles that the different publications will put in place. They want to see if you're reading what they're asking for. And they want things the way that they're asking. So when you're doing submissions, and I encourage you to submit it, you're writing it, get it out there, send it out, see if somebody likes it. It doesn't matter if you get rejected. You just keep going because, like I said, I've been rejected a lot. But this particular one, it was incredible. The hoops that I jumped through. I probably spent as much time formatting the document to submit as I spent writing the story. But that's a writing credit. And that, again, as the way I'm looking at it, is building credibility in the marketplace. And you have to understand that this is a business. Look, there are a lot of people who love to read. And there are people that publish things. And then there are people who write. And without us, without the writers, there's no stories for the readers to read or the publishers to publish. We are the commodity. That makes us valuable. That makes us something important. And so we are important to the game. And we just keep writing and you just keep submitting, and people say yes and take your stuff. Or they say your submission doesn't meet our current needs. Like Asimov Science Fiction Magazine has done to me 3 times. Clark's World has done to me twice. And these are like the top shelf science fiction magazines. They've been around forever. And I am on a mission to get a story in Asimov. I want my name. I want to be able to put in my list of credits, my growing list of credits, story published in Asimov Science Fiction Magazine. It's an ego thing for me at this point. I'm just going to be honest. I want to crack the code and get into Asimov. But that's the nice thing. As you begin getting credits, every email I send now, I can say, here's who I am. My story, Waiting for Julia, has been published. My story, Road to Tane, has been published. My novel, Weight of the Gods, has been published. And it builds you credibility on the front end so that they might actually read your story. But a lot of times, again, they're going to read everything because it's a small publication. You realize these are like little people sitting in a cubicle somewhere on their day off doing this. I think we have a mentality that this is some big thing. It's probably not. It's probably, even the big publishing houses are probably a lot smaller places than you think they are. I love the game. And I want to show you this document. This document shows you the different ones, stories that I have out right now. Like I said, I've got 13 submissions out, 12 different stories. I got my novella out twice. Now those have been submitted since September. This is almost January. That's a long time. I'll probably send a follow-up email the first of the year and say, did you get my submission? Just to see if it's out there. I would love to have that novella published by some little bitty independent publishing house out on the West Coast somewhere. It's a cool story. I like it. My daughter likes it. I haven't heard a word. And that's just not unusual. Like I said, a lot of times you won't hear anything from these people. A lot of times you'll get an auto response that say they got it. That's nice. Sometimes you don't get that. Sometimes you just feel like you're sending things into space. And sometimes, unexpectedly, you get an email that says, hey, we really like this story. I have one story out right now. This is a story I have submitted. It's called Foul Narcissus. I have submitted this story at least 4 or 5 times. It's been rejected at least 4 or 5 times, but there's a magazine that liked it. But they haven't made a final decision yet. And they said, sent me the email. It's a good story. We're looking at it for like our July publication, and we'll make a decision around March. Please don't give it to anyone else until we come back and give you a decision. I said, sure, that's great. This thing's been rejected 4 times. 5th time's the charm. You just never know. And that to me, again, is the fun of the game, is waiting to see what's going to happen. I'll put a link with the International Association of Professional Writers and Editors down there. That email that I get is really, really cool. And again, I use a spreadsheet just because I need to remember what I've done and what I haven't done. And it's got different pages on there of what sold, what was rejected, what timed out, and what's currently submitted pending some kind of response. And that's the way I do it. And that's the way I look at it. And that's the game that I'm playing with it. Again, I'm not trying to make a living with this yet. But by the time I'm 65, 4 years from now, I would like for this to be a steady revenue stream, so I don't have to drive a school bus anymore. That's my goal. Anyway, I hope that you found this vaguely informative, maybe a little entertaining, and encouraging, because I know it sucks to get those rejection notices. It's just part of the game. Keep playing. Keep submitting. And whatever you do, keep writing. See you next time.